Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Clock Weiss. I'm Cam, and this is Raph. And today we're doing something a little bit different. Everyone who plays Weiss knows that every month we get a new set, and this month's set is a bit of a doozy. It's Quintessential Quintuplets, which, as of recording, is coming out tomorrow, and is our first ever 15 double rare set. At least I believe so. But it is one that we're excited about. Raph specifically is very excited about this set.
Yeah, definitely. I think the set has a lot to offer, and so we can just talk about a few of the cards that are coming out.
Sure.
So I guess we can start with like level zeros in the set. As far as things that you're going to be playing in like every deck, you've got, at least in my opinion, I think you have like 3 options for brainstormers. You've got a search brainstorm, a salvage brainstorm, and then in a specific deck, I think you play a third brainstorm.
Well, yeah, the set has like for each girl, there's a brainstorm that specifically like targets a climax type. And we think that the only one that's actually worth talking about is the choice one, because it is like an actual option in this set. We think to play the 8-choice deck.
8-choice.
Yeah.
No, I think so. Yeah, it's basically each girl has a climax. 2 of them, or each girl has a brainstorm. 2 of them are just generic ones. They don't actually have reprints.
It's because they're double
or
rares,
like
right?
Right. And then each of the other 3 girls has a brainstorm that specifically targets a climax.
Yeah. So so the 3 that we're looking at is the green one, which is whom?
The Yotsuba brainstorm that is the search brainstorm.
Right, and then it has an act ability that's pay 1, ditch a climax to clock swap, which is like fine. It's
very good. And it also gives 500 power when you do
stapled. Oh, does it actually?
Yeah.
And then the salvage one is Nino.
That one, yep.
If you guys can't tell, I have never watched this show, so we're struggling our way
I'm
through
the
it.
expert, I guess.
Yeah.
The Nino brainstorm is the salvage brainstorm, and she gives 500 power every time one of your other characters reverses its battle opponent.
Fine.
Fine.
It's like basically like if you want to play a search brainstorm, you get to play the green one, which I think is better. But if you want to play a salvage brainstorm, because like some of these combos like mill an amount of cards into their waiting room, so if you really want a salvage brainstorm, you can play the red one that has like a marginal power pump on reverse.
Right, and then depending on what your like color is, you might want to run one for color requirements over another one. But I think other than that, it's pretty much that. It's pretty much like personal preference, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, the secondary effect, I think, the search brainstorm is better. I personally like prefer salvage brainstorm.
Yeah,
so
for
like
sure.
it's
I feel that way as well. I think, but yeah, I think if I was building like the meta deck, I would probably play the green one.
Sure. Yeah. And then the last brainstorm that we have is the Ichika one, which is the only brainstorms off of choices.
Right.
And it is also a search brainstorm.
And it has a pretty powerful second effect, right? That warrants you playing it.
Yeah, it's when you trigger a choice, you reveal the top card. If it's a character or an event, add it to hand, ditch one.
Oh, sure. That is very good, yeah. Yeah, so it turns like your you can like trigger the choice, salvage a card with a soul trigger that you don't care about, and then get a free top check, and if you get something better, you can discard that one that you got off the choice, which is pretty good.
Yeah. So
I think those
let you see more cards.
Those are our brainstorms for the set, and then there's some other like utility stuff to talk about. There's like a pretty reasonable hand fix in the set, which is it's on play, reveal top if it's trait, add to hand, discard, and then also on play, discard a card to draw a card, which I think is just a fine effect. Like sets have been playing that for a while, but worth talking about.
Yeah, for sure. It's only a 1/5. It's green. And I think it's a pretty good card, specifically if you want to increase the like the green count in your deck, one thing that I've as I've been trying to brew decks for this set, I've been having a hard time trying to figure out color stuff.
Yeah, and we'll get into that more later as we talk about like your climax combos and stuff, which sort of dictate which colors you're in.
But yeah, top check to add to hand, ditch one on play, and then also if you want to see more cards, it's ditch a character to just draw one, which is good.
Sure.
And then in addition to that, you have as far as things that like utility cards that let you see more cards, you have you have basically one Ricky in the set that is like worth talking about. There are actually two Rickies in the set, but like one of them is kind of but yeah, it's a Yotsuba, and she gives she's like kind of just your very.
She has like
I don't even.
She has like a marginal pump power effect that I don't think
right,
even
on attack
matters,
she gives 1,000.
Right. But yeah, she's on play. Pay one, clock yourself from the top of your deck. Search for a cost 0 equal or lower than your level. Right. And
that
put it
one,
into
and
play.
then puts it directly into play.
Yeah.
So you can't like if it's your like second turn at 0 or something, you can't unless the clock top would put you to level 1, you can't search for your level 1 combo.
Yeah, I think that never comes up.
Which is it's marginal for sure.
Yeah. So it's just a Ricky.
I would have obviously preferred like just the regular Ricky text where it's just take a damage and then like just search for a level 1 or lower.
I just think like I can like probably count on my hands how many times I've cared.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's really not a big deal. So yeah, it's an on-play Ricky. Like you're gonna play 4 of it just to find your level 1 combo, no matter what color you're in. Sure. Like Raph alluded to, there's a on death Ricky, which is just frankly unplayable. That you're not gonna play, I don't think. Yeah. So I think you probably just play this one.
Yeah, I think this one is better. They're all also both green, so it's not like there's even a color choice there.
Yeah. And then that leads us to plussing zeros to round out our level 0 game. To talk about the first one, sort of fits in 2 categories, which I think is pretty cool. It's a plussing 0, but also has some like pretty reasonable utility. It's a coin flip, so it's only 1k power, but it's a coin flip. So at the beginning of your opponent's draw step, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's level 1 or higher, it bounces to your hand. But the reason why you play it, if you don't like coin flips, I don't know, maybe you're a psychopath and don't like coin flips. It's on play, pay to bounce an opponent's character, so it sort of like fits in the similar role to cards like the Shido from Data Live, that we talked about a little bit in our Data Live deck profile that you can check out on our channel. Where it like deals with effects that last cross turn, like Soul Walls or whatever. You get to bounce your opponent's Priestess or Katori or whatever, or just helps deal with troublesome level 3s, or even like at level 1 if for some reason, I don't know, you're playing against Soundless Voice or something and need to remove an 11k.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
So like it's a fine card. I think you probably play a couple copies of it, or at least consider it.
Yeah, like if you're playing it just for the pay to bounce, you probably run it as like one or two of. If you want to also run it as a as your plussing 0, you can obviously play it at 4.
You do have some.
The problem is it's
pretty.
tiny.
You do have some pretty like actually good plussing 0s in this set, though.
Correct. Yeah. The runner in this set is probably one of the best runners I've seen in a while.
It's pretty good.
It's very good. Yeah. So it's only 500 power base, but as long as you have one other quintuplets character, it gets 3k, which is very large, and then it's just a free runner.
Yeah, for sure. So like most of the time, it's a 3/5 free runner, which like it sort of plays both roles, right? Because the problem with runners and free runners specifically is they're generally like 2k power. So
right,
it means that like on your turn you're probably either siding or directing into an open lane, whereas like with this big dumb idiot, you can actually just like run over most things in the game and then still have a free runner in play if you like play your brainstorm in the back row or whatever. Right. So I think it's a pretty powerful card.
And because it's like a free runner, it can just run into like interception.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You just get a reverse on your turn, and then you get another reverse on their turn.
Yeah.
It's kind of good.
Yeah, I think the card's very good. It's like a double rare or something, right? Like
I think it is a double rare.
Broken for a reason, I guess.
It's
But the only other argument to make for your plussing 0s is in one of the trial decks, the Ichika trial deck, you get a on your turn 3k clean cut. which is a fine effect. I think 3K in 2020 is big enough to kill most things, so the power isn't really an issue. And it allows you to like attack more than one times when you're like going second, which again we'll talk about later. But some of the builds of this deck tend to be a little bit more costly than others, especially the yellow one that has Ichika in it. So it sort of works well in that shell as well.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that I think that the like it's a pretty close toss up between the clean cut and the free runner.
Yeah,
of
personal choice. I
think,
think, or both if you're a psycho.
Right.
Live your life.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the runner is the runner's blue, the Ichika's yellow. So if that determines your
well,
if you want more zeros of that color,
when you're determining what color to play, one of the best ways to do that is your level 1 combo. So
yeah,
I think that does it for a level 0. So we can move on to talking about
sure.
level 1s, which I think in our opinion there's we say 3 level 1 combos that are worth talking about. If you ask me personally, it's probably like 2.5, but Raph is a little bit closer to the full 3. But
yeah, I think it's probably closer.
They end up being in yellow. You have the Ichika combo, which is on a choice, and she says
big choice.
On attack, if you have 6 or fewer cards in hand, which I guess is a line of text that they put on cards. You look at your top 3, or up to your top 3, and you choose a character and put it into your hand. So it feels sort of similar to the Revue Starlight combo, but notably this one only gets characters, where I believe the Revue Starlight one is card. I believe the Card Captor Sakura one is card as well.
Yeah, the Card Captor Sakura one is on attack. Look at 3, grab a card.
Yeah, so it's a little bit worse than that, but it is like doing its best Magro.
The Card Captor Sakura one is also bigger.
Sure,
if that's worth noting.
Yeah,
this Ichika is only a 4/5 that gets 1/5 on your turn.
Yeah, she's a 7. She's a 7K when she attacks. Like I think that's all that really matters.
Yeah, sure.
She does her best Magro.
Just like it's just like the Revue Starlight one specifically is like in that set tends to plus because of the way that set is like designed, right?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the card itself, but
right.
The support makes that card kind of hard to kill, but
right.
Regardless, that one's on a choice,
and
probably the best argument to play that card I think is that it's on a choice. And choice is a very
agree.
Powerful trigger. But like it's a fine effect. Absolutely. It's on attack. It pluses like 100% of the time.
It's a good card.
It's fine.
You do have a Magro, I guess, that you have access to, but I don't.
Yeah,
think
I probably
really worth talking
I
about.
probably wouldn't play it.
Especially when you have this.
The one that most people are on, and I think would be my personal choice, is actually one that I didn't know about initially, because I read most of the spoilers for the set when they were coming out, but I just skimmed over the trial deck spoilers, which I guess
right
in 2020 is now a mistake.
Yeah, sometimes they print errands in those, dude.
Yeah. So the combo worth talking about is a Yotsuba.
Yeah, you did it.
Nailed it.
You did it.
Which is it's a 1/0 5K. Is that right?
4/5 gets 1,000 during your turn, so she's only a 5/5.
So she's a 5/5. But the reason why you play her is because she is a pretty powerful card. I think probably the best one in the set, which is weird coming out of the trial deck. But she's on attack with a gold bar, which is very good for your level 1 combo to have a gold bar. It's on attack 2 cigarettes, which means you mill your top 2 cards and then salvage a character whose level is X or lower, where X is the combined level of the milled cards, which is text. I think that it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that combo is good. I think I think it's pretty on par with the other ones until you talk about the fact that it's on a bar, in which case it becomes like very good.
Well, yeah, I think it's it's very similar in power to the choice combo. Like the effect.
I agree.
But yeah, like I think the real edge there is like choice is a very good trigger and a better trigger, I think, than gold bar. But gold bar is just extremely good on your level 1 combo.
On your level 1,
because it makes it super loopable, which is obviously a benefit to loop your level 1 combo, which doesn't really need any more explanation why that's good.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then the third combo,
I think that card is very solid.
to talk about is the blue one, which is
Big
Miku. Who is she's fairly large, right? She's like a 4K that gets plus 2K.
She's a 4K that gets plus 500 per other.
Yeah, so she's a
So she gets 2K.
she's a 6K cross turn, which is like pretty large. And then her climax combo is with a gate. And it's very similar to Goblin Slayer, for anybody who's familiar with that set. So it says on attack, you either search or salvage for a specific event. In this case, it's named Headphones. It's a 1/0 event that we'll talk about.
In a second,
Yeah, so she's on attack, plus she always gets it because it's either search or salvage. So no matter where it is, unless it's stuck in your stock or something,
right.
You're going to be able to get your targets. Which we've seen, like, this exact profile is in Goblin Slayer and very strong because it's like, A, yeah, it's a guaranteed plus, and B, it's large. Like, they're both 6Ks cross turn, which makes them fairly easy to, like, defend with 2K backups and stuff to keep them on board.
Which the set has a plethora.
Yeah, for sure. And she's also on a gate, which means that you can realistically loop your combo, not nearly as easy as a gold bar, but, like, still fairly consistently. Especially if you're in the mono blue deck and playing 8 gates in your deck. But the issue with the Miku combo is that the event that she gets is not great. It's 1/0.
It's canonically fine.
Has a counter step punchy, so you can play it, your turn or in counter step. But it just says reveal top and then salvage character level X or lower, where X is the revealed card. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it's fine. Like, it's always going to quote unquote break even, right? Because even if you reveal a 0 on top, you salvage a 0. But
right. Assuming you have a 0,
it doesn't manipulate your deck in any way. There's ways in the Miku deck that you can make it so when you play an event, you manipulate your deck an amount. But the card itself doesn't really do anything. Like, the fact that it has counter step just virtually means nothing. It's like if it was like mill top, even if you like revealed top and then milled it, at least you would be able to take one clean off the top of your deck. But this is like, you play it in counter step, you reveal the top card of your deck, and you're like sick, and then take damage. Makes the card like pretty unimpactful.
Well, yeah, you either play all 3 of them in counter step of each of your 3 lanes, right, to get a new card every time.
Right.
Or you wait until your next turn, and then you just hope that the top card of your deck is like a 3, and then you just salvage 3 of whatever
and
it
then
is,
you have to like
mill it just.
If like brainstorm or something to change the top card
between
of your deck.
them, if you whiff, for
and
sure.
like it's kind of like a non-starter with the idea of keeping your Mikus alive, right? Because like if you play it during counter step to technically see more cards as you're taking damage, it means that you're not playing a 2K counter in that lane. And she's probably gonna run over.
You do run I think it's like a level assist in the like if you're playing the
like
Miku
there are
deck
cards that
also,
make it better for sure. I just like I don't think that spending 20 slots in your deck to make this combo playable is going to be worth it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's like a decent combo. I just don't think it's I think you probably have better options in the set.
I think it's very close for sure. I think all of the text on Miku herself is very good. It's just unfortunate that the card that she gets is bad. We were really hoping
they didn't
that
print another headphone.
Yeah, we were hoping that much like Goblin Slayer, there would be a second copy of the headphones event that had a different effect in her TD, but there wasn't. So
we got
But those are the 3 level 1 combos to talk about. I think. I think so. It really comes down to the bar of the choice, and between those, it's probably personal preference. You do get a little bit of benefit. From like obviously depending on which one, it'll put you in a different color at level 1, but
right.
The thing that we want to mention is specifically for green. So if you end up playing the bar combo, you get access to like a pretty powerful level 1 at green level 1 since you're going to be
another
green.
Yotoba. I think it's worth mentioning that all of the girls have like a level 1 beater that's like fairly okay.
It's just but the green one is actually very good.
The most interesting one of all of them, is the green one, where it's during your turn it's a 6/5, and then when one of your characters is front attacked, you can pay 1, put it in the waiting room to bounce that character.
Right.
Which is just very good.
Yeah, it's for sure overall a very good effect, especially like on your gold bar combo. Like you assume that you resolve your gold bar combo like 3 times as soon as you hit level 1. And then maybe you have the opportunity to loop it the next turn, but you can only play like 1 or 2 of them, and you can fill your other lanes with this, just 6/5 beater that has tremendous upside on your opponent's turn. Becomes a pay 1+. helps you deny reverses by sacking it and bouncing another. It's just a very solid card,
Right.
which I think
I
is
agree.
worth considering in the gold bar combo's favor.
Right. Yeah, because you don't have to split your level 1
Yeah,
to play
for sure.
some other jank.
Yeah.
Also at level 1 you get like just worth mentioning, the only other card that I think is worth mentioning in the set at level 1 is that the set does have a 1/1 early play bomb,
And that's in yellow, right?
It's a yellow just like regular 1/1 stock bomb.
Yep. Which is fine. Like
no other text.
It feels crazy to me that that like every set now gets an anti-change bomb at level 1, which just like wasn't a thing a year ago.
Right, I agree.
Which is, it's a powerful effect. Like most of the time it doesn't matter. Like most of the time that you're playing your anti-change, you and your opponent are both going to be at level 2, but those situations do come up where, your opponent's ahead of you and they're trying to snowball you with an early play. And you get stuck at level 1 and you just can't deal with it. So yeah, definitely worth talking about. But if so, that card is yellow, and if you don't play yellow, or you want a different option, once we go up to level 2, there's a couple more anti-changes that are worth talking about. I think the most interesting one is a green card that it's a 2/1 clock bomb for early plays. When you play it as a character, it's just a clock bomb for early plays. But it also has 2/5 backup text on it. So it becomes like
it's very weird.
Yeah, it's like a very versatile card because obviously you can play it as an early play bomb at level 2, which is fine.
Right.
But if you are playing a matchup or a game where that doesn't really matter, it does just get to like sit in your hand as a 2/5 backup. So you can search the card out in anticipation of your opponent playing early plays, and like maybe they just don't. But it doesn't become a dead card in your hand because you can just use it as a 2/5 backup.
Right. Yeah, I like that card like specifically for that reason because it's like never truly dead in your hand. Like a 1 stock 2/5 backup is not the best thing in the world, but
yeah, but
it's better
fine.
than
It's better than a literal dead.
It's better than
card,
paying 1 stock to just swing with a 2K.
right. For sure. Yeah. So I think that card's fine. Like I think the name of the game of Weiss in 2020 is versatility, and I think that card obviously has that going for it.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that card was like mistranslated when it first came out because they were like, everyone's like it's a stock
anti-change counter,
like a send a stock anti-change counter, right? Like, is it a counter? No.
Well, that is unfortunately one of the places where Quintuplets does fall short. It has like a million anti-change counters, but there's
one for every girl, literally.
Yeah, but they're all send a waiting room, which is like
for no
pretty
reason.
bad. Anybody who doesn't like quite understand why that's so bad is if you send your opponent's character to waiting room at any time, they get the opportunity to pay encore. So if it's like a particularly important piece for them, and you play this anti-change counter or any of them that send to waiting room, they do just get to like pay 3 encore, and so you traded 3 stock for your opponent's 3 stock, which is just like generally not worth it. But there is one that's at least worth talking about, which does send a waiting room, but it's a 2/1 counter. Is this the blue
because
one?
The cost isn't awful.
Right.
It's red.
It's red. Okay. So yeah, it's a 2/1 counter, and the anti-change cost is pay 2 sack. So it's like probably,
which I really like.
Yeah, it's probably worth considering just as a sack counter because sack counters are just generally pretty powerful. They fit into that same like versatility standpoint where like, yes, it is an anti-change counter and you can use it to anti-change your opponent, but that pay 2 sack effect can be useful in other ways if you're trying to
if you have a really strong on reverse combo.
Yeah, if you're playing against something that's not fucking Psychono, and you can play backups to dodge their
and you can play
counter.
backups for their on reverse combo. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, like it's worth talking about. Like I think I would probably just like play a copy of it because the upside is high and the downside is like pretty low.
Yeah. I think in most of the builds that I had one of the like one of the 1/1 and then one of that, or one of the 2/1 and then one of that.
Yeah, that seems totally reasonable. But that just about rounds out our level 2s. So we'll get to talking about what I think, and I think a lot of people think sets this set apart, which is its finishers. So once you hit level 3, as I alluded to earlier in the video, this is our first Weiss set that has 15 double rares. which isn't technically true. There's only 10 double rares in the set, but there's a different rarity
5 double rare
in the set
pluses.
called Double Rare Plus, which
Yes.
for people who are selling play sets, God help you, is a nightmare because there's only 20 double rare pluses in a case, which is why this set is going to be so god awfully expensive. But
Yeah, you get 1 playset per case.
yeah, which sucks. But
Yep.
all of those double rare pluses, or at least most of them, are pretty powerful. These are the first cards that we saw for the set, and like our initial thoughts, Raph and I were that this set was going to be extremely strong just on the back of some of these double rare plus combos.
Yep. Yeah, a ton of them are like actually. I guess like we're gonna talk about
it's like
the
two
two
of them, right, that are really worth talking about, and the other 3 are just like fine.
We're gonna talk about the 2 of them that we think that are actually like legitimately worth talking about. And then but like it's worth mentioning that that the reason why those 2 are the ones that are talking about is because they're very, very strong, whereas the other 3 I think are good enough in like a lot of other sets.
Sure.
They're just not good enough in this set in comparison to like the 2 that are.
Well, yeah,
like, the meta
they're
ones.
they're like playable finishers. They're not your tier 0 meta deck finishers, which are what these other 2 quintuplets combos feel like.
It's just weird because the set has 5 like actually playable finishers that a lot of other sets would be happy to play any of them. It's just they have 5.
Well, you hope that you get options for your $500 playset, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. So I guess we can start with the Ichika,
Sure.
Which I think is, in my opinion, the better one.
For sure.
So it combos on a choice. It has in addition to the climax combo, on play you get to look at top 3, pick 1, put it in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So it finds its own climax, which is just like more than you can hope for. And then as part of the cost, you have to ditch a card. So it also gets you that card to ditch to its climax combo. So its climax combo is on climax play of the choice. Pay 1, ditch a character. If you do, this card gains on when damage dealt by this is canceled, burn 2 twice.
Yeah, it's super strong.
Sick.
It's like it's got like a reasonable cost, right? Because the effect is on climax play. So in order to resolve this 3 times, you do need 9 stock. Like Raph said,
you don't really care about the cards in hand.
Yeah, like the card finds its replacement. So like it breaks even, so you really don't need the extra cards in hand.
Right.
You need,
unless you like are running a bunch of events or just like whiff a bunch and like hit a bunch of climaxes.
Yeah, and I think you just play like 0 events
character.
if you're playing this combo anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, like on play, she either finds her climax if you need it, or she just finds a card to discard to her own effect. So it really comes down to like you need 9 stock for this to go off, which means that you have to play your deck a certain way. But 9 stock isn't like a tremendous amount. It just means that you have to like maybe be a little bit more frugal when deciding to brainstorm. It makes, like we mentioned earlier, it makes playing that clean cut at level 0 a little bit better because it allows you to attack twice at level 0 to build that stock advantage.
Right.
But what this card comes down to is it's like Yami from TLR for people who were playing Weiss back when Yami was a force to be reckoned with, where it just ends basically every game if your opponent has 3 cards in their level zone. Just due to how this card so consistently does damage, it's so statistically unlikely that if you're at 3-0 that you live to 3 of this combo. Which just makes it extremely strong, very, very consistent. And we'll talk about the other combo later, which I think has some issues with it. But Ichika is like, she sits in a spot where even if she doesn't do what she's supposed to, she just kills your opponent. Because like you technically want Ichika to cancel because she's doing more damage that way, and in smaller increments, which makes them more likely to stick. But if she doesn't, that means that she stuck
just sticks
3
9.
damage. Yeah, so like if none of your Ichikas resolve, you just stick 9 and your opponent dies. Or if some of your Ichikas resolve, you do like 9 and your opponent dies. Like
Right. There's like no.
there's
yeah,
very like the failure rate on this card seems extremely small in our testing. I think the only demerit of this card is that it is fairly costly, and 9 stock is a real thing that you have to worry about, especially in a format where so many decks, Data Live, Grisaya, and others, Bang Dream, Rewrite, all have access to a stock swap, which makes it so like if they hit level 3 before you and they stock swap your 9 stock, you might just not get to your Ichika turn. But I think when you resolve this card, it basically just always wins the game for you, which is what makes it so powerful.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I think the odds that your opponent doesn't die from any reasonable amount of damage that they've taken throughout the game is so low.
For sure.
Like if you literally have 8 climaxes on the top of your deck, you still die if you're 3/5.
Right. It's ridiculous, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like literally, if you have 8 climaxes on top of your deck, you still die from 3/5.
Yeah, there's so few deck states that you can have where you statistically live from this card. Like it's possible,
right,
for sure. It's just
for sure
always very unlikely. So, I said, the failure rate on this card is just extremely low. But it's not the only combo worth talking about. The other one that we want to mention is the blue finisher, which is on a gate. So this is the Miku finisher.
It's a Miku. Yep.
Yeah. Is she on play heal?
She on plays heal, and then she's
So she has
on attack.
She has 2 effects. And she sort of she sort of slots herself into 2 different roles. So she's on play heal.
Yeah, I agree.
And then she has a climax combo with the gate that says on attack you can pay 1. If you do, you look at the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, and you either put them into their waiting room or back on top in any order. So she does like the opponent's side of the Bang Dream Mocha combo, where she ideally rips climaxes off the top of their deck and then swings for free damage. Or, if they leave you good side attacks or whatever, she can just find 2 clean on top and stick 2 clean damage for free. And then
it's worth noting she does that effect second. You have to do the other one first.
Sure. They don't really interact together, but
no,
not
not tremendously.
Her other effect is half of an Icy Tail, so she mills the bottom 2 cards of your opponent's deck, and then burns them for X, where X is the number of climaxes that she milled with that effect. That part to me doesn't really mean anything. Like it feels almost like non-text. Like Icy Tail is a powerful effect, but looking at 2 cards,
looks at 4.
The variance is so high for you to just
it means like
most of the time. Right, like
you probably get like 1 or 2 of them. Like if you do the combo in all 3 lanes, you probably get 1 or 2.
Well, yeah, like I think in most deck states, the average on an Icy Tail is 1. Right, it's like I think most players who are quote unquote compressed in the late game in Weiss are usually going to be like about 1 in 3, or 1 in 4. Right. So if you're looking at the bottom 4
which
cards,
is what I mean by
your
that.
average is usually 1, which makes like all of your Icy Tails burning for 1 is good, but if Miku does it 3 times and she's only burning for like 1.5
1 point something
average, it like basically just doesn't have text, in my opinion. I think like the downside of milling clean out of your opponent's deck often sounds like a demerit rather than a plus. Because like you have to think like if your opponent has less than a full deck, like if your opponent is only like 20 cards in deck or something, and you're milling some amount of them with the top side effect of Miku, like you could actually just be helping your opponent by milling the bottom of their deck. I think this it's definitely a powerful effect. Like we've seen success from cards like Mocha and Bang Dream, and on the other side of that, cards with Icy Tail effects like Icy Tail in Psychono back before Set 2 came out, or like the Akira finisher in Review Starlight. But I feel like this combo ends up sort of being like Master of None, where it doesn't do either effect particularly well, just does them both in a half step. And like,
because it doesn't do the Mocha thing of protecting you on the swing back in case you don't kill your opponent.
Or like, you don't get to know what you trigger, so like it makes your quote unquote attacks for 3, right? Like ideally with Miku, if you're not siding, you're just attacking for 3s. You never want to soul trigger.
Right.
But you don't get to decide that with Miku. I think the ceiling on this card is exponentially high. Because if you like your first Miku like mills 2, burns 2, rips 2 climaxes off the top or whatever, you just won that game like hands down. But I think the floor is really low, which is the problem that I have with that card. But like it is worth noting, like it's on a gate, which is a good climax for your finisher. It means it's like pretty easy to get her climax. She does on play heal, which obviously heals are very powerful, especially
good. Yep.
in this sort of like slower meta that we seem to be in now.
Yeah.
And also she's cheaper because like she does pay 1, but she doesn't discard a card. So you don't need to worry about that end of it. And she's also on attack, so it means that to resolve this 3 times, you only need 7 stock because you need to pay for the 3 and then pay for the first on attack
Certainly
1,
better than
and
9.
then the rest of them pay for themselves. So I definitely think like it's a combo worth considering, but in my opinion, I just don't really see why you would want to play it over the Ichika finisher, which seems just so very strong.
Yeah, they both don't push very much damage. Like the Miku technically pushes like a little bit more damage because if the Icy Tail hits, she like actually burns in addition to her thing. Whereas the Ichika's probably like she's either like swinging for 3, canceling, and then burning 2/2, or she's, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like I guess actually on the like they probably push an equal amount of damage because Ichika, if she does her thing and cancels, you probably hit your opponent for 4.
Right.
Which is what Miku is doing if she swings and then Icy Tail and actually hits on the Icy Tail.
Well, yeah, I think the real difference between the Ichika and the Miku comes down to like what the deck wants to do. The Ichika finisher is like very consistent and like we mentioned earlier, like probably just kills your opponent from 3-0. But if you like don't have the ability to get all 3 off, which is a reasonable thing that might happen, or B, like your opponent hits level 3 first and is able to kill you before you have that like explosive finish, those are the games where she falls short. Where like Miku is a much more defensive, safe combo because like she heals, so if you're at any sort of damage deficit, she'll make that back up. And since she's lower cost, it makes it much easier to repeat her effect if you live through the subsequent turn. Like Ichika's sort of like the Hail Mary, like you resolve your Ichika combo and expect that your opponent dies, but if they don't, you probably end up losing that game because you just dumped your entire hand and all of your stock to do this. Whereas like Miku can play a little bit more defensively. You can resolve, a couple of Mikus, all 3 even, and then be able to generate the extra resources through the heal and also through the reduced stock cost to do it again and then maybe kill your opponent on the subsequent turn.
Right.
But
neither of them is large, and that might be worth noting. They're both just
they're both probably not going to survive the crackback. The way that you build your Miku deck makes it so that she's probably a little bit more
likely to
live, just because you play some Miku specific like level assists and stuff that make her a little bit bigger. You're probably playing 2K backups and stuff if you're on the 8-gate Miku deck. But I don't know. I think in my opinion, and I think Raph alluded to it earlier that he agrees as well. We think that the play is probably the Ichika combo.
Yeah, I agree.
But of course, like if you guys think otherwise or think maybe one of the other combos is better,
yeah, for
let
sure.
us know.
Let us know.
Like we're always here to hear your opinions. We just want to give you ours. But in addition to the 2 level 3 combos that we think are worth talking about, there's just a couple of other level 3s that we want to mention before we talk about the set as the whole.
Yeah, for sure.
So you do have in yellow a pretty good early play, which is just basically a non-condition. It's 4 or more quintuplets characters, right?
No, it's
is it 2 or less climaxes?
It's 2 or less climaxes.
So yeah,
it's not literally free.
She's a yellow 2 or less climax early play, and then on play she has discard a card to heal the stock. On a 10K body, right?
She's a 9K that gets 500 per.
Oh, really? So she's big, yeah.
She's 11K.
But yeah, like this sort of effect
Good card.
Fits well in anything that you're playing yellow in. So if you end up playing like the Miku finisher, but the choice level 1, you can slot this in. But it works especially well like with the Ichika build, just because you don't have access to a heal at level 3 if you're playing the Ichika combo, and B,
Right.
it only ends up costing you 1 stock, which helps you save your stock for your Ichika
And you
combo.
need it. Yeah, it's like the Aqua early play in Konosuba. Like you
Right.
play, you only play early plays that only
generate
cost 1
your
stock
stock
because
back, yeah.
you need stock.
Yeah, so I think it's a pretty good card. If you're playing yellow, you probably play this in like 3 or 4 copies. It's also
I
worth
totally agree.
noting that anti-heal effects aren't super popular in Japanese these days, but one of your top 3 meta decks in Grisaya does play an anti-heal, and this does get around it by healing the stock. So that's at
True.
least worth mentioning if that's something that you're scared of seeing in your meta.
Yeah, just a
And then the other card that we want to talk about is, I think, the only really noteworthy like supplemental finisher that the set has, but it is unfortunately in red, which is not a color that you're really going to want to be playing. We don't think that either of the red combos at level 1 or 3 is particularly strong. Playable for sure, but not particularly strong. But this card is a very powerful effect. It's very similar to the original Bang Dream trial deck Kasumi, which so the effect is on play, you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is a trait character, you burn your opponent for 1. So it adds a little bit of supplemental damage on play, which means that you don't have to like spend a lane swinging with it to do that extra damage. So if in either deck you're able to splash this and you can play like 3 copies of your finisher and then like an extra one of these in your back row just for the extra ping for 1, it ends up adding up, I think.
Yeah, it's a good card for sure.
Yeah.
And then its other effect is on attack. If you have 4 or more other characters, which is like pretty easy. If you have a full board, give 2 5 power and 1 soul.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Which is good. I think I really like this card when you're running the Ichika finisher, because I think like worst case scenario, you don't have enough stock, or you don't have the third Ichika in your hand somehow, even though you've played 2 Ichikas already and like looked at 6 cards in your deck. If you need to play something as your third lane, I would choose this because you attack with it first and you give 1 of the souls to one of the other Ichikas, and that makes it more likely that she cancels and then does the thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a very solid card and maybe worth considering a splash for.
Yeah, I think I like it in that deck. I think I like if you're playing the mono yellow deck, like if you're playing Ichika level 1 and Ichika level 3, I think it's like a no-brainer. You just put that card in your deck and you splash red.
Sure.
If you're playing the what we think is probably the best deck, which is the Yotsuba level 1 into the Ichika finisher, you have to actually work for that red splash. And that I don't know if it's worth it. But it does have good synergy with your finisher, so like it's good.
Yeah, it's worth considering, I think, for sure.
You have another option that's the Miku level 3 from the TD, which is just an Icy Tail. It's like pay 2, ditch 1, Icy Tail on attack. No climax combo.
Yeah, I don't think that
is literally
card
anything else
necessarily is worth
it searches
as much
on
of a
play.
splash
Searches
as the
on
red one is, but if you end up in the Miku finisher, it's definitely something that you're going to want to play a couple copies.
Yeah,
of.
if you're in the Miku finisher, I would play that as my secondary finisher in a heartbeat.
For sure.
Because like actual Icy Tail on a off of a climax is just strong, as we've seen in like Data Live, which to be fair, that's a 5 card
like
Icy
Data
Tail,
Live and Grisaya all play, or not Grisaya, sorry, Summer Pockets play an Icy Tail that's off climax. But so those are all the cards that we wanted to talk about in the set. Obviously, the set is coming out, like we said, as of recording tomorrow. So we haven't had a whole lot of testing. We've only played a couple games with this set so far. So we're looking to play a lot more games with it in the future. And obviously in the next couple of weeks, we'll get you guys a deck tech of what we settle on for our build of the deck. But Raph, in the meantime, how do you feel about this set going forward?
I think it's strong. I don't know if it's like it's hard to say without having like more data, but like I think that this as far as like the meta is concerned, I think that this set is very strong, but it's not pushing out like Data Live or like Psychono as like best deck in the format.
Sure.
I think the finisher is very strong. I think the level 1 combos, like the ones that you have access to, are all like good. I don't think any of them are like phenomenal. Like you don't have like Kato isn't in the set. Like it's not it's not a deck that is like molded by your level 1 combo, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the Ichika level 3 combo specifically is very powerful. Might be the most powerful finisher that we have in our top meta decks right now, but I think where this deck is going to end up having a problem is in the mid game, because the Ichika finisher requires an amount of setup, and it requires the game to go like pretty well for you in the earlier levels of the game. Because like if the game is going poorly and you have to spend resources to like dig yourself out of a hole, it means that you're not going to be able to resolve your Ichika finisher.
Right.
So I think if anything, this deck's going to have some problems in the mid game around level 1 or 2, trying to set up for that level 3. Like as I mentioned earlier, it feels like this deck feels very much like a modern day Tulavru, where the deck itself is like fairly middling, but it has a very powerful finishing effect. Obviously, this deck is much better than Tulavru, but by like today's standards, it sort of feels that way, where it's got like a moderately powered early game that closes with a very powerful finisher. So, yeah, like Raph said, I think we're gonna have to wait until we see some more data and us personally do some testing to see
whenever my playsite gets
how the deck shakes out. But if you guys have been playing the deck and testing it, let us know how you feel about the deck. Do you feel like this is going to be one of those, top 5 meta decks in the format, or are people overrating it, or are we overrating it? Let us know. We've of course always loved to hear your feedback. But I think that's all that we have, unless you have any closing thoughts there, Ref.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah, like I think if I was going to rate this set, like actually give it a rating, currently with the limited data that we have, I'd probably put it somewhere in like A tier, but not like not high A tier, like low A tier.
Yeah, I think I would probably be a little bit more generous. I think I would probably put this in like high A tier. I don't think it touches the best like 3 or 4 decks in the format, but I think it does have a strong running for the top like 6 or 7 decks in the format.
Sure.
But again, it depends on how it shakes out. So.
Right. Yeah. We'll see in the end, right?
Yeah, of course. And as we mentioned, we'll see you guys in a few weeks with a deck tech on what we settled on, and maybe all of these things that we've said are completely incorrect, but we won't find out until then. But
for sure.
Again, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate your viewership. If this is something that you guys enjoy, make sure to share it with your friends and hit that subscribe button. You can always catch us here on YouTube streaming our local tournaments on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, as well as weekly, fingers crossed, uploads of deck profiles and set predictions and stuff like this from us. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks.